I'll start with part 2 of our lesson on converting measurements. And we're going to start taking a look at metric measurements and how we can go back and forth between imperial and metric measurements. The first thing is I want to just go over with what are metric measurements. Okay. Well, Canada and the rest of the world use metric measurements, okay, for length, volume, and area. When I say Canada and the rest of the world, the US is really one of the only countries that actually uses imperial measurements. The only reason that we use imperial measurements as well is because we're so close to the US, okay? And we have to do a lot of converting back and forth, whether we go down and go visit the US or whether we have stuff up here that has imperial measurements on it. We still use a lot of imperial measurements throughout the course of our day, and so it's good to be able to convert back and forth between. Metric is very easy to use as it is a base 10 system. And when I say that, it means that everything that it has is a step, or sorry, I should say this means, okay, and we're going to write it down here, that each step up or down is a multiple or divisible by 10 or a power of 10. Okay, so any step that we do up or down is going to be divisible by 10 or a multiple or a power of 10. So just like we did with measurements in imperial, okay, with metric we can do the same thing. We can go from kilometer to hectometer to decameter to meter to decimeter, centimeter to millimeter. Okay, that's kind of the path that we do, and every single time it's going to be times 10. Times 10, times 10, and so on and so forth. And that's going to continue on every single time. If we go the opposite way, if we have millimeters, we can go to centimeters, to decimeters, to meters, to decameters, to hectometers, to kilometers. Every time we are going to divide by 10, and we're going to do that throughout the entire piece. Okay. If we want to go multiple steps, so let's say we want to go from centimeters to meters, we would then divide by 10 times 10, which is 100. So we would divide by 100. Okay? If we want to go the opposite way, we would multiply by 100. We can go from kilometers to meters. We would then just need to multiply by, or millimeters, we need to multiply by 1,000,000 or divide by 1,000,000, depending on the way we want to go. Okay? Everything is set up in a base 10. Okay, everything's set up in base 10, which means that when we convert between metric measurements, the number is always going to stay the same. The only thing that's going to change is where the decimal place is. So if we want to change 3.1 kilometers to meters, okay, kilometers to meters is 3 steps. Okay, 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. So we're going to multiply by 1,000. So we do 3.1 kilometers times 1,000. And that equals 3,100 meters. You notice the numbers didn't change, we just moved the decimal place over. Okay, so that's what we do if we're trying to convert that way. Let's say we go the opposite way, and let's convert, let's do 4,389 millimeters to meters. Okay. What we do is we take 4,389, and now again, millimeters to meters is 3 steps. So we are going to divide, let me just get my division symbol here, by 1,000. And that's going to equal 4.389 meters. Now notice the numbers stay the same, we just move the decimal place over the number of zeros that we have here. Here are 3 zeros, move over 3 spots. Here are 3 zeros, move it over 3 spots. Okay, so that's how we can change between metric measurements, okay, and convert between metric measurements.